are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. That is Evo. We are back. It is a Sunday night. If you're out in Ohio, more than likely you're going to have some sort of day off or maybe light work tomorrow because we got the eclipse coming. So I'm I'm fucking exhausted. We'll talk about that in a second. But Evo, I know you got to get up early tomorrow. You got work. How's the Sunday treating you?
You know, other than being really tired as well, just because I didn't sleep great last night and having a raging headache that I'm working off right now, I feel pretty good, man. I didn't even tell you this. I've been going like on a dirty carnivore diet now for a little over a week, and I'm down almost like 12 pounds already from doing that shit, which is, I feel fantastic. I haven't had a solid shit, it's just been splattering out that grease because I'm cooking everything in bacon grease. And
nice.
Yeah, it's been the dirty carnivore with lots of energy drinks that are, 0 cal, 0 sugar with them, but beef, eggs, bacon, and butter. So that's like been I've gone through almost 60 eggs in 7 days.
That's too many fucking eggs, man. Like when I was actually
beef.
sticking to it and we were dieting, I was eating so many goddamn eggs. I couldn't eat eggs anymore. But I was adding eggs to every fucking meal I was getting pretty much.
So the eggs I haven't had any issue with. I'm down with pounding the eggs. I have had when I'm having bacon, I'm usually having close to a pound of bacon over a day. I'm struggling to eat 1,800 calories. Like, it's tough to get down sometimes. My problem is that the ground beef has run its course, man. I said I've probably gone through close to 5 pounds of ground beef, and I can barely stomach the ground beef anymore, even if I like try to season it a little bit extra or something like that. Like, it's tough with that stuff. But like I said, I've been sticking to that straight, beef, bacon, eggs, and butter, and I'm going to start to expand it to add in chicken and pork, a little bit more pork, products and stuff like that, just because I need a little bit more variety. But man, yeah, it's like I feel good. So we're getting back in Beachbody season, and I'm, pro day didn't happen because of the injury, but now, I was trying to get that weight up there for the numbers, and now I'm getting back to my athletic lean form for actual playing. So
there you go.
We'll put it at that.
That's the right way to do it. Absolutely. I'm tired for a completely different reason. So I'm in school right now. I'm a college student. I actually still have homework I'm going to have to do at some point tonight because it's fucking due at midnight. But I'm also a film student. So the last 2 days, I've been filming a movie. We've been filming a movie in my house.
Debbie does Dallas too.
Hell yeah. I've sucked so many dicks. You have no idea.
Oof.
Yeah.
So it is for the modern day.
Yeah,
we don't shame. We don't do any of that. Absolutely.
Everyone is accepted here at the Lineman Lounge. But on the other side of this brown thing was the setup for the movie. Then upstairs in the living room and 2 other rooms in the house. So it was very, very fucking busy. I moved around a lot of goddamn equipment. I had a great crew. I enjoyed all my actors as well. Thanks to everybody who joined and was part of this project. There will be a movie that comes out after I get done fucking editing it. And it's actually going to go on to one of the pages. I don't think it's going to go on the Lineman Lounge page. That's going to stay probably strictly all the sports stuff, but you will be able to find that on No Sleeves Network. The movie is going to be called Duty Calls. And there's a military theme to this movie. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to ruin anything else. I'll let you guys critique it when it comes out. But yeah, that's what I've been up to the last couple of days. I'm fucking exhausted. Thank God we have a topic that is going to keep my interest, and I believe probably everybody's interest, because we're talking about motherfucking quarterbacks tonight. The most important position in all of sports. We're going to break down our top prospects. Typically, you're going to see the same guys in this ranking. I have a guy in here that maybe Evo doesn't. Evo has a guy that I know that I don't have in my list. So without further ado, should we start diving into the show? Oh, actually, I would be remiss if we did not quickly bring up the fact that women's college basketball season is now over. South Carolina goes out. They beat Iowa. Caitlin Clark ends her career, a stellar career, but without a title. That's got to leave, kind of a sting. They were really good for a long time, basically the entire time she was at Iowa. She holds every record in all of college sport or college basketball, most points, most 3-pointers, men's and women's. So she's the fucking GOAT. It sucks that she didn't go out with a title, but congratulations to South Carolina. Evo, you got anything on that?
Yeah, I was just pulling up the score to do the same thing to go over that. Final score 87-75. The Gamecocks come out with a perfect season, 38-0. So congrats to those girls. And, that sucks for Caitlin Clark. But I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, her career has been incredible there with Iowa, and it's going to continue being incredible for her going forward. Pretty sure of that. So congrats to them.
Yeah, and if you haven't been watching women's college basketball, start. That is the second best brand of basketball that you can watch. It's right behind the NBA. Like, give me women's college basketball over men's college or the WNBA for sure.
Alrighty. Other than that, the only other real stuff I think that we have to go over before we really get into our quarterback prospects it is still silly season in the NFL. Pay attention to that stuff coming out. We also had April Fools recently, so as I kind of posted out there on the socials, be wary of what you look at, because I didn't realize it was April Fools at first, and I started seeing some articles. I was like, well, this seems outlandish, and sure as fuck was, because I recognized the day pretty quickly. And thankfully, I didn't post any fucking nonsense on.
You didn't get McCocknerd? You didn't? Yeah.
Didn't get with any of that. But other than that, there's plenty of NFL stories and news kind of going on right now, but it's all speculatory for the most part. It's, this guy is rising, in the rankings, or this team is falling in love with this player, and who knows? Because
90% of this shit's probably made up.
For the most part, yeah, because there's no real way to parse this stuff out, because no owner, no GM, no scout, or anything like that is going to come out and be like, this is where our team is leaning right now, because they want that veil of secrecy on things. So for anyone that goes out there and reads these articles and things like that, and definitely check their sources of what they're talking about before you start giving much credibility to things. Like today, we have reports coming out about Malik Neighbors, who's viewed as kind of one of the top receivers in this draft class next to Marvin Harrison. And then people are saying, no, he's a diva. He's not good to go to a big city. Well, one, a lot of wide receivers are divas. I mean, we're seeing that with guys like Stephon Diggs, who are able to push their way into other teams and things like that. You see it all the time. OBJ, whatever. Sometimes it's a problem. Sometimes it's not. But teams are aware of this already. They already know. Like, if you were talking about one of the top 10 picks in the draft, teams hire like former FBI agents to tail these guys and figure out their past history. So the teams already know about it, and teams already have him ranked appropriately. And the reports are that a lot of teams actually have him above Marvin Harrison for XYZ reasons. So don't let that stuff sway you from your picks, your prospects, and your thoughts on them. The one kind of hard piece of news, I guess, that we have coming out today is that Texas defensive lineman, one of Mike and I's favorite defensive linemen in this draft, T'Vondre Sweat, the monster of a man, he was arrested in Texas last night for a DWI, driving while intoxicated. So it was below the legal limit, allegedly, $3,000 bail. He's already been out of the jail and everything like that. But more stuff to come on that, because reports are kind of saying, that the situation seems weird. Reporters are saying there's going to be more information come out about this. It seemed like on Sirius XM when I was listening to it that they were kind of leaning towards like, hey, the charges actually might be dropped. Either way, for a guy that we're talking about as one of our favorite prospects in this draft, had an amazing Senior Bowl, and then he's second, third round type of pick. Teams could. This is the sort of thing that could hurt a player's stock a little bit. I mean, we saw it happen with the gas mask bong previously. We saw it happen with Percy Harvin back in the day, popping hot at the combine, things like that. So it could potentially happen to him. Now, he wasn't being looked at as a first-round pick anyway, so it's not going to be a day one sort of thing, but teams might have to go back and reevaluate, hey, is this a character concern that we have to worry about with this guy? And it could cause him to slip a little bit in the draft. I know Mike is kind of hoping that, hey, maybe it does cause him to slip a little bit and he could fall into the laps.
Listen, I don't want him to slip just because I don't want him to slip because I think that he's going to be a really good player, and I hope he gets all his money. He's probably a good dude. But if he does slip, I hope he slips right down the fucking Cleveland. He needs to be a Cleveland Brown so bad, dude.
Yeah, and that's I feel the same about my Vikings. We don't have a third round pick, but plenty of picks after the third round, and he's absolutely a guy that I would love to trade up for if we start to see him fall. But either way, that's kind of like our one kind of more concrete piece of news is that something actually did happen there, and that's something that we can kind of watch and keep track of going forward. That being said, we are here today to do our quarterback rankings, our quarterback evaluations, the most important position, not just in football, but all professional sports, the NFL quarterback. And this year's draft is being viewed as or heralded as one of the more prolific drafts for quarterbacks because we are looking at, at least 4 guys probably that go in the first round, potentially more. If you watched our Lineman Lounge mock draft 1.0 last week,
yeah,
or a little over a week ago, we had more than 4 go in the first round. And so, quick plug for us: if you haven't gone and watched that mock draft, please go check it out. We've obviously had, I suppose we did have one big other piece of NFL news that happened this week. A major trade happened between the Buffalo Bills and the Texans. And I suppose we probably should get into that here in a little bit. But
we're going to have to do another draft at some point, which we're trying to get some people together for in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We want to do another big draft like we've done in the past. But you can guarantee that there's going to be some changes that are happening up at the top of this draft now with.
Well, that's the thing is that, wide receiver was already a need for the Buffalo Bills. And I believe that we select wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. That being said, the need is even greater now because if you weren't paying attention, Stephon Diggs was traded from the Buffalo Bills to the Houston Texans, which the Texans look like they are full throttle, gas pedal to the floor, going after the Chiefs in the AFC. They're looking for their shot at the title now in the AFC. It's to me a fantastic move for them because the capital that was given up is very little when it's all said and done. They gave up a future second-round pick, the Vikings' second-round pick that the Houston Texans acquired when they gave up their first-round pick to the Vikings this year. And in return, they got Diggs and a couple later-round picks, one this year, one next year. Either way, if you look at all of those trades that happened with the Texans, they essentially got Stephon Diggs for a couple late-round picks, essentially. They did a really good job in getting him. Buffalo took on a big hunk of, dead cap space for him. And yes, they did alter Diggs' contract with this trade where now he's going to be, a free agent essentially after this year. But still, he is an aging player. His production did dip. But we're about to see, was that a product of what was going on in Buffalo? Or is it actually like a production drop-off? I think that you'll see the best of Stephon Diggs, right out the gate. Again, how long-term that's going to be, we'll see. But they're have a pretty lights out offense there in Houston right now.
I mean, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. That is a fucking trifecta that anybody in the NFL would love to throw to.
Right. They traded for Joe Mixon. They, already had a solid back there, even though they, lost Devin Singletary in the offseason. Offensive line is pretty damn solid. And then you've got one of the brightest young quarterbacks in the NFL right now in CJ Stroud. That offense is looking pretty damn awesome. And so I feel like this draft for them is probably going to be leaning a little bit more defense to help flesh out D'Amico Ryan's defense, which was already pretty damn good as well. So, look, this team is, if you hadn't already put in a bet to try to, say that they could be an AFC champion or an NFL champion, in the Super Bowl, the odds have just changed dramatically with that Stephon Diggs trade. So I applaud the Texans and what they're doing. On the flip side, man, Josh Allen has to be like, what the fuck is going on here in Buffalo? Because right now he's got Khalil Shakir, whose stats by the end of the year were better than Stephon Diggs, but he's not a true number 1. I don't think he's a true number 2. He's a number 3 type of guy. You also have a Curtis Samuels there who is aging and was lacking some production. And I like Curtis Samuels as well, but it's got to be considered one of the worst receiving cores now in the NFL. And the whole Pat Mahomes Chiefs model that we saw last year isn't going to work for everyone. When you're talking about potentially a GOAT quarterback with the Chiefs, where he's able to make the best of a shit situation, especially at receiver, Josh Allen is a fantastic quarterback, but I don't know that they have the coaching, the offensive structure, and the pieces around them there in Buffalo to make that sort of a system work. So they really need
Josh
to
Allen
hammer.
hero ball.
They need to hammer wide receiver in this upcoming draft. And while there might be one available for them at, I believe, they pick in the late 20s, the possibility of them needing to move up to try to get one of those
Look for
top
them to
3
maybe trade up for sure.
or to ensure that they get one of the top 4 with Brian Thomas, it might be a necessity at this point.
At this point, like they're going to be looking at what 9 and 10. I don't know if they'll be able to get 9 because Chicago is probably going to want a wide receiver as well.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to make a big move to go get a big time guy. That's the only thing that they can do. There's nobody else out on the market that really moves the needle right now.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe they, you still have guys out there like an OBJ as a free agent, things like that. Maybe they try to make some moves like that just to get competent receivers out there. But yeah, it's Bills fans are probably not too stoked right now because the thought process was, hey, you got Diggs, you got Shakir, you got Curtis Samuels. That's a decent receiving group. If we add another guy here to replace Gabe Davis's production, we again have a very competent receiving group and the passing game is going to work. Now it just feels like a complete 180, like the thing is in shambles. So,
yeah,
we'll see. But that being said, we're here today to talk about those quarterbacks. All right.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure the way you were trying to segue with this, go check out that last one,
yes.
the mock draft that we did. You guys can check that out on the YouTube. You can also access it right through our website, NoSleevesNetwork.com. We got blogs up there. You can also read analysis from prior mock drafts that Evo did. You can listen to me bitch about Rob Manfred and opening day kind of sucking. So go check that out. But without further ado, let's get into what we actually came to do today. Let's talk about these motherfucking quarterbacks.
All righty. So I figure the way we can kind of start this off is that if you've been paying attention whatsoever to the NFL draft and quarterbacks, they're going to be the most talked about position. We are kind of late to the game essentially on this, talking about this, this quarterback group.
I love doing it late because I want to see the pro days. I want to get as much information on these guys as I can because this is the most important position. If we say it again, we're going to just sound like assholes. So we should probably not say it again, but that's why we wait. We wait for this one till the end.
Yeah, we are willing to sit and wait and synthesize the information as much as possible in order to give you guys the best product and get, take the time to get our thought process nailed down of how we're feeling about this quarterback draft class. But I figure the way that we can start this is we can kind of give our quarterback rankings in a order that's ascending from, I'm going to go my top 8 guys up to pick, the top overall quarterback in this draft class. And I don't think that the name should be too surprising. And then we'll be able to kind of go through each of these 8 and give our thoughts in general on them. Like I said, we might have different lists between Mike and I, but I'll go ahead and start it off for me. So at 8, I have Michael Pratt, 7, Spencer Rattler, 6, Bo Nix, 5, Michael Penix, 4, Drake May, 3, Jaden Daniels, 2, JJ McCarthy, and 1, Caleb Williams. Now, this is my personal ranking system, and I definitely am looking at it from the scope of the Minnesota Vikings. I will give you that. Because for me, the difference between JJ McCarthy, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May does come down a lot to scheme fit and things like that. But a lot of those 3 can kind of be interchangeable depending on the situation. There are definitely tiers here for me. And then the top guy is, of course, Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams is your top, huh? Okay. All right, so I like your list. We have a lot of the same things actually happening here. Little changes at the top, little changes at the bottom. My top 8. So I got Spencer Rattler at 8. You had him at 7. 7. I have Sam Chad Hartman. 6. I got Bo Nix. 5 is Penix. 4. Drake May. 3. JJ McCarthy. 2. Caleb Williams. Number 1 is Jaden Daniels.
All righty. Yeah, that's definitely different, there at the top with Caleb Williams not being the number 1, as most have kind of crowned him as the number 1 guy. But I think I kind of know where you're probably going with that one in general. and then thoughts behind it. You just want to start then from the top there and talk about Caleb Williams and our thoughts on him, and then getting to Jaden Daniels and going so on and so forth.
Yeah, I'm down for sure, man. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So Caleb Williams is expected to be the number 1 overall pick in this draft. Some people are saying generational. I'm not willing to go that far yet with him, because I do think that there are some issues there. A lot of what people are going to start to focus on is off the field stuff. So let's just get that out of the way first.
Yeah.
The guy paints his nails. He'll get emotional. He likes pink, things like that. It doesn't really matter to me
at all.
That's not a character concern. I don't really care how the player expresses themselves. It's if it becomes a character problem, like where they are using their platform to do outlandish shit, which detracts from football. And I know it's a tough situation to talk about, but the Colin Kaepernick thing, I don't have a problem with Colin Kaepernick standing for what he's standing for and things like that. But it started to detract from football for him. And obviously it derailed him. And the NFL is very much so to blame in that as well.
Yeah.
But when you are evaluating a guy who is potentially going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and is supposed to be your franchise changing quarterback, the best quarterback that your franchise may have ever had, it's something that in the evaluation process that a team is really going to have to look long and hard at, because if this guy is going to become a pain in our ass going forward or a PR nightmare or something, despite being prolific, it could be something that's going to dissuade you from taking the guy. Now, when we're talking pure football, I think that out of this class, he's probably the most talented or has the highest upside potentially of any of these guys.
Agreed there.
He's nothing but highlight plays. He plays hero ball a lot, which is good and bad. It felt like when you're watching him out there at USC, especially this year more so than last year, not only was the whole team on his shoulders, but you could see that the whole team was on his shoulders, because he did have a significant lack of talent around him. You have a Marshawn Lloyd at running back, who's going to be a good draftable prospect in the mid rounds this year. You've got Jerry Rice's son out there at wide receiver, but you don't have, and Jerry Rice's son, it wasn't even, he's in our top 20, 25 wide receiver rankings, but he's not there elite at the top. Caleb looked like every single play that he went out there that he began to move out of structure, whether or not it was necessary to look for the home run. And while that is a really good thing in a lot of situations, it also worked to a detriment. You've got to be able to learn to play within structure. You would see a lot of times that he would pass up easy plays in order to try to make bigger plays happen that could end up being detrimental to the team, especially when you move into the professional realm of NFL football. You're going to have players take advantage of that. So my pro comp here that I have is Kyler Murray plus size. Like, he's got better size than Kyler Murray. That's not to say that he has great size, because he is that 6', 6'1" type of size. Right. So you'd hope to have a little
but
bit.
He's not Kyler Murray stature. It's
right.
hard to make a comp to Kyler Murray because he's fucking 5'9".
Yeah, and while he doesn't have prototypical NFL quarterback size, it's not like his size is necessarily a concern to me. It's just compared to Kyler Murray, he's bigger. But he's that guy that is able to be mobile behind the ball, extend plays. And something that we've talked about with Kyler Murray is that in the pocket, it seems like Kyler is not that great. But as soon as you get him scrambling or outside the pocket, playing outside of that structure, all of a sudden that's when he becomes dangerous. And it's the same sort of thing with Caleb Williams, is that he's got a good to great arm. He's able to throw out of structure. He's able to make things happen. Like, some of the throws that you look at are like, wow, that is a Sunday throw.
Unworldly the talent that the man has in his arm.
Right. And that's where a lot of the comparisons that people will bring in to Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes does these insane, ungodly type of things every now and then, and does that hero ball sort of thing. The thing is that maybe a Mahomes is like a trajectory that he could have with the correct coaching, things like that in the NFL. But, Mahomes was in a great situation where he was able to sit, and he was with some of the best offensive and quarterback coaching minds in the NFL, and they were able to develop him into what he was. Is he going to get that from the Bears? I'm not as sure. The thing is he's moving into a good situation. That is an ascending team with a lot of good weapons around him, better weapons that he will have ever had at USC. But is he going to be able to start to play a little bit more within structure, or is he going to lean back on what he had to previously do and play that hero ball, which again can be good, but it also can be a big detriment.
Well, I feel like you read my fucking notes here. So I feel so much the same, like highest ceiling of any quarterback in this draft. And I don't think that's really any doubt. And that, like, Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to be a stud. And I have him rated as my number one. But Caleb Williams has a way higher ceiling because Caleb Williams can actually be like generational. But like, there are things that you love and hate about them. He routinely makes everything that is supposed to be hard look easy as fuck. Like, has no problem, can make every throw, can do anything you want on the football field. But the other problem is that he always makes the easy things look way more fucking difficult than they have to be because he doesn't play in structure. He doesn't play in structure at all. He loves to break pocket, get out. He wants to make the big highlight play. He's a good athlete. He's a really good athlete. He can get out, has a massive fucking arm. And it reminds me of a guy, and I'm not saying that this is what Caleb Williams is, but I'm saying what I'm about to say is the floor for what Caleb Williams can be. Reminds me of a guy who plays for the Jets. It was a massive fucking arm and tons of arm talent, but you worry if he's actually the franchise quarterback because is he actually a leader of men? Can he play within structure of an offense? Now, am I talking about Aaron Rodgers or am I talking about Zach Wilson? Those are the only two options you get with Caleb Williams. He's going to be one of those two. There's no middle ground. If he can't learn to play within the structure, I think he's going to be Zach because he has the similar type traits. If he learns to play within structure, he's Aaron Rodgers-esque. So that's my comp for Caleb Williams. He's a really good athlete, good manipulated pocket, massive arm talent. If he hits all of his ceilings, he's Aaron Rodgers, maybe even better. If he doesn't attain it and he hits his floor, he's Zach Wilson because you worry about those off the field things. Is he actually a leader? I don't give a fuck about the pink nails. I don't give a fuck about the pink phone. I don't care about any of that. I care about the outside noise that comes from the people that he keeps around him. And then there's the one problem I've had with the things that he's done in college that I've seen is the crying after the Washington game. And it's not because he cried. I understand crying. I understand getting emotional, especially in a moment like that. I remember crying in my junior year of high school thinking that, it was all over. I was never going to get to play again. So I completely understand being emotional in those circumstances. But you got to own that moment with your team if you're the leader of the team as the quarterback. You cannot be up in the stands. That is my one knock on the college thing, all of that stuff. He's boom or bust. I got him as my number 2 guy because he is super special when it comes to talent. But will he ever get to put it all together? I don't know.
Yeah. That's the other thing with those off the field concerns that you kind of have to look into is there's a lot of stuff with his dad. We're looking at like a LaMelo Ball type of situation where his dad, like, he doesn't have an agent. And his dad is kind of his manager with a couple sub managers, and they're trying to, according to reports, get certain things for him because whether it's team ownerships or not having to play under the agreed players association, setup and things like that, like all these kind of things are coming into play. You also have some interesting situations happening with the Chicago Bears where the ownership very well could be changing here in the near future. And as those sorts of things change, how is that dynamic going to work with him being kind of the CEO of the football team on the field, and how much control he believes he should have and things like that. So that's where some of, if you're looking at necessarily off the field concerns, I don't want to call it character concerns, but those are off the field things that they're going to have to consider is how much of a problem could this end up becoming for us in the future. at the end of the day, if you're looking at it purely from a football perspective, the talent on the field is pretty incredible. But we'll get into Jaden Daniels next, your number one guy. But I want to say this real quick. We got a lot of people checking us out today on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. Thank you all for dropping in and watching us. Please make sure, if you could, just take a second, follow the page, like our video, subscribe on YouTube. Let us know the love. Let us know what sort of content you like. Make sure to comment and let us know if you have any thoughts on anything that we're saying, so that way we can keep providing you this product, provide you a better product, and know how to kind of skew what you guys want to see here on the show. But with that, we can get into LSU's Jaden Daniels, your number one pick, my number 3 guy. But again, I've got him in that tier where he's right in the mix. So I think we're generally going to be in the same spot on this. What are your thoughts on Jaden Daniels?
He's best athlete in the draft at the quarterback spot. But he also wins from the pocket. Like, really fucking good at winning from the pocket. Surprisingly good at winning from the pocket when you consider the lean frame. Like, I've never seen a guy that I could actually be like, damn, he actually can play. He's Lamar Jackson until Jaden Daniels. Like, you can have guys that, oh, he's an athlete, he can run real fast, he's good. But like the true comp, I've never seen anybody that I can be like, man, that guy looks like fucking Lamar Jackson, until you go back and you turn on the tape and you watch Jaden Daniels. Like, I understand he's a little bit older. That may deter some teams. He's a fucking 5-year player. But he's so good. That's what makes him better, is that he is so smart operating inside the pocket, reading defenses. He could rip a ball into a fucking window, and he could break out and fucking take it to the house, because he's that good of an athlete. Now, he does leave some things to be desired when he's throwing outside the numbers, but that's like Lamar Jackson. Lamar loves the middle of the fucking field. He lives there, but struggles throwing outside the numbers. I see the same things from Jaden Daniels. Like, throws a really good deep ball, but sometimes he just doesn't get into it, doesn't step into it. I don't know why it's outside the numbers, because everything he throws across the middle, he fucking rips it in there. So that's my one thing on him that I'm not sure that is going to get fixed. But when you see, like, for me, when I saw that, the play style, the things that he does, how can I not put him as my number one quarterback when I'm comping him to 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson? Like, this kid could be an absolute fucking stud, especially if you figure out how to get him on target outside the numbers.
All righty. And that's one thing I want to bring up here, and I'll highlight, I guess, another YouTuber, Adrian Cienko. I don't know anything about him, but on YouTube, he has been, over the past couple weeks, putting out videos for all these top quarterbacks, and it is just cut-ups of every single run and every single passing down or throw by all these top quarterbacks. These videos end up being, an hour and a half, 2 hours long. I've sat here and watched them over the past week, each of them, and that's where I've kind of developed a lot of my notes, in addition to stuff that I had previously, just to go back and relook at these guys. If you are starting to really like one of these prospects, or trying to see what we're talking about, or you want to develop your own thought process, I would jump to those videos and look, because they can be really informative on some of the stuff that we're talking about, and where we're getting into these players. So for me, Jaden Daniels, again, a guy that I really, really like. If I'm looking at him from a viewpoint of my Minnesota Vikings, I like him a little bit less, because I don't know that his schematic fit works with us as well. We will have to change our scheme a little bit more for him than we would with some of these other guys. That being said, I think the schematic change wouldn't be a terrible thing, because of how good he is or can be. Now, you brought up that skinny frame. That is a bit of a concern, especially when you take into account the amount of hits that he takes. So if he's in the pocket,
gotta protect himself better, for sure.
In the pocket, he is really good, really slippery with getting away from those sorts of hits. When he breaks the pocket, the guy has no fucking clue how to slide, get down, or avoid the hit. Like, he's not going to go out and break tackles. He will avoid tackles, but when he gets hit, the dude has a highlight reel of getting lit up, bad. And that is going to be a problem in the NFL with his frame and his size. He has to learn to protect himself. Like Lamar Jackson, you bring up, one of the things that Lamar does best when he is running is he is
Slippery.
able to protect
He's
himself.
so slippery, dude.
And despite that, how many times have we seen Lamar get injured?
Yeah, I mean, it still happens for sure.
It still happens, and Lamar is one of the better ones at sliding and avoiding getting hit like that. When Jaden goes out there, if he starts to take off and take those hits, like, he is going to be fucked up. It's going to be a problem. So he really has to fix that. And I got no doubt that an NFL coaching scheme is going to be able to teach him how to do that. He's got a really good arm. He's able to throw to all levels really well. He's got really good touch, maybe one of the better touches of the quarterbacks that I'm seeing in this draft. That being said, on the flip side, while he does have good arm strength and he can throw a great deep ball, none of his throws really seem to have a ton of zip on them. Like, I'm not really seeing him like feed a laser into guys if need be. That's kind of like, I would like to see that a little bit more, because some of those tight window throws, you got to get a ball there right then and there. And I'm not seeing that as much from him as I would like to see. He's too quick at certain times because he does have really good run talent to take off from the pocket, in my opinion. That being said, like, when he is a runner, he's obviously really fucking good at it, and I love that. And then his ball placement needs a little bit more improvement, but that's just normal stuff. Now, if we look at his history, like, he was at ASU first before he ended up going to LSU, and his ASU time was not good there under Herm Edwards. I don't think the coaching was great for him there. The teammates cleared his locker out for him and shit like that are the reports. Like, so it brings into question, like, is he a guy that teammates really like? Well, I think that the play there was so bad that the teammates are like, get him out of here. We want to move on. Turns out that, he ends up going and winning the Heisman this year. He needed time to develop. He needed good coaching. He was able to get that at LSU. And so I don't really put a
He was
whole
a captain at LSU too, right?
Right. And I don't look at his time as ASU as a negative. I look at it was like, hey, this is kind of some of the floor of what you could see if he's put in a bad situation. And you got to surround him with good talent. So where he's going to be going up there in the first round, like, you got to make sure that you're putting good talent and good coaches around this guy. And there's a couple spots for him up there that would obviously be good. The other thing I guess that you kind of have to look at with him is the situation that he was in at LSU. He has two receivers there that are going first round for sure, in Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., right? And Malik Neighbors being one of those guys that we're talking about as being right next to Marvin Harrison. When you've got receiving talent like that, how much easier does that make your job? And how much do you have to maybe take a step back on the player's performance because of those receivers? With him, and this is all contextual with the guy, with him, I think showing him with those good receivers shows what can happen, especially after the catch, but he's still making good throws. He's not making throws that receivers have to be grade A talent in order to make these catches. He's still making good throws.
He's his ball placement, you brought it up, is a little, sure, everybody can improve the ball placement a little bit, but let's not act like he's Spencer Rattler out here throwing against air, fucking a yard behind a receiver on slants. Where I'm going to bury him again later. But like, Jaden Daniels will at least put the ball out in front.
Yeah. And so that's, like, I'm not looking at it necessarily negatively either, that he had such good receiving talent there. You can't blame the player for that unless the wide receivers are propping up. The example that I would have there is Case Keenum for my Vikings back when they made the playoff run in 2018 or whatever. It was Case Keenum was a game manager quarterback, but his accuracy was wild. And then he had Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen out there making insane catches for him and putting up an incredible season. If it wasn't for having such good receivers out there, Case Keenum wouldn't have looked as good as he did. That's not the situation with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels was playing with two extremely talented wide receivers, but he wasn't being propped up by those guys. He was helping those guys express just how good they were. So for me, like, I do like Jaden Daniels in a lot of ways. I've got him as the number 2 quarterback in this draft. For me, again, my list is definitely based on the scope of my Minnesota Vikings, and a schematic fit isn't there as much as it is for a guy that I have as my number 3 guy, or excuse me, my number 2 guy, your number 3 in JJ McCarthy. And so JJ McCarthy, do you want to move on to him next? Are you ready for this conversation?
I'm ready for JJ, because I know you are ready to talk about JJ, because you're full in on JJ being your guy.
I am. Now, real quick with Jaden Daniels, my comp for him, and this is probably heard this plenty, RG3 for me. I don't necessarily like the Lamar Jackson comp as much because I think Lamar Jackson is a better runner and not as good of a thrower. I think that right now, Jaden Daniels is a better thrower than Lamar Jackson, just like RG3 was a better thrower. But they have that lean, slender frame. That's where the concern kind of comes into play for me is that RG3 used those legs and then ended up derailing his career because of injury. And my
Well, I
fear
think that had a little
Jaden
bit
is
to
that
do
could
with
happen.
Gruden sending him back out there on a rubber band for an ACL. So
Yeah, and that doesn't help. That doesn't help either. But
yeah,
that's my fear is that he could have a RG3 path if he's not protected as well as he could be. And learning to take, those slides and things like that when he needs to. But that's my pro comp there is an RG3, hopefully an RG3 with a longer career. All right. But yeah, next. So JJ McCarthy. He's a Michigan guy. You're an Ohio State guy. And I
yeah,
assume
fuck
that
Michigan.
you come at this from a position of like fuck this guy in many ways. But
There's a
I
lot
am
of nice shit
interested.
I wrote in here. I wrote a lot of nice shit about JJ.
All right.
But still fuck JJ. Like,
All righty. Well, I will get into what I have here. All right. So I think JJ McCarthy has all the tools in the bag that you were looking for, and that he's a really great athlete. Not as good of an athlete as a Jaden Daniels or anything like that, but better than a Drake May and things like that, guys that are considered to have good athleticism. I think that his athleticism is on par with that of Caleb Williams, if not maybe a little bit better in certain areas. He was expected to run in the 4.4s, 4.5s, which, we'll talk about a guy here, Michael Penix, who was in that same area, which was kind of a surprise to people. McCarthy ended up not running a 40 at his pro day, didn't run the 40 at the combine. But what he did do at the combine was a 3-cone drill. Now, did you look up his 3-cone drill?
I did not look up his 3-cone
I know you're a
drill.
3-cone fan, all right?
I am.
He was 17 pounds heavier than he was expected to be when he went to the combine, which is a good thing because that was one of the concerns was that he was a little bit lighter in weight. Well, he put on 17 pounds and apparently 17 pounds a good weight. Despite that, he ran the 5th fastest 3-cone drill, agnostic of position in the entire combine.
God damn.
Which is pretty damn good for a quarterback. Not necessary for a quarterback, but it just kind of goes to show what sort of an athlete he is. He also was a pretty well-regarded hockey player up there in the Midwest before really leaning into football. So that's the thing that I kind of like. He knows how to play cold weather, more of a grueling game like that, where you are going to be taking a bunch of hits just like football. So that's a good thing, in my opinion. At the combine, he also had the 2nd fastest velocity for the throwing drills at 61 miles per hour. That's 62 miles per hour was what Joe Milton had. That matched Anthony Richardson from last year as the fastest. So talks about his arm strength. He's got one of the strongest arms in this draft, whether or not he really got to show it at Michigan. Just pure stat there. Does that really translate?
I hate thank you. I don't know if that shit translates at all. Like, if you watch that fucking drill, it's just a dude ripping a ball right into a pad. That's stupid. Show me how far you can launch this motherfucker, because that's what actually matters.
Sure.
I hate
Absolutely.
that drill. Fucking stupid drill.
So other things is he ran that pro style offense at Michigan, which I believe NFL coaches and teams are going to kind of like. The fact that it was more of a pro style, you're going to have to do a little bit less catering or changing of their offensive styling and system to get into the NFL. He keeps his mechanics on the run, unlike any of the other quarterbacks in this draft, in my opinion. On the run, he is, and when he is mobile, he is one of the best, at least statistically, but from the eye test as well. Statistically, he 100% is the best on the run in this class. And he has one of the best, or if not the best, footwork and mechanics in this draft. His eyes match his feet when he's moving, even on the run. His accuracy, like I said, does not depreciate on the move because he doesn't lose those mechanics. Last year, he had a 72% completion rate on normal passes. When he went out of schedule or outside of the pocket scrambling, it dropped to 71%. That is the best in this class by far. He lost, and I didn't add the decimals in here, he lost less than 1 percentage point of completion percentage on those throws when he was on the run. He doesn't have the high volume stats. That's what's really, I think, the biggest knock on him is that he doesn't have the high volume stats that a lot of these other quarterbacks have. The thing for me is that an absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence in talent for this guy. It could be, but we don't know that, and it would be unfair for us to judge him based on the scheme that he was in and what he was asked to do. The thing is that if we go into the analytics of when he was asked to pass and things like that, I think it paints a different story. So, um, Michigan had a 21-point lead in 11 of the 15 games that they played last year. In 7 of their 15 games, McCarthy didn't even take a snap in the fourth quarter. That was the sort of offensive scheme and system that they ended up running there, was they were getting so far ahead that they wouldn't even play him. They didn't have to play him. They didn't have to have him pass in a lot of these games. And that's the thing, is that I don't think with his passing stats that he does have, that any of them are empty calorie stats like we're going to kind of see with other quarterbacks in this draft. Snaps where it's like super easy designed, just swing passes or screens and things like that, where you're getting tons of rack yardage and stuff like that, or yak, that yards after catch. All of his stuff for the most part was true passes downfield. He threw the most of any quarterback in this class on third down, when the defense is expecting passes, and he had the highest third down success rate of any quarterback in this class as well. So when it was on the line, you kind of look for that clutch gene in quarterbacks, and he didn't have to show a clutch gene very often because Michigan was stomping most people that they were playing. That being said, the most clutch gene type of situation is those longer third down plays. And again, he had the highest success rate of any quarterback in this class on third down and long. Michigan, they played the 38th average ranked defense this year. Jaden Daniels and LSU played the 47th ranked average defense. Penix and Washington, 57th. Drake May at UNC, 61st ranked defense. So he was going up against some of these stronger defenses as well. And despite this, they were able to get so far ahead in these teams that his utilization wasn't necessary. And that kind of leads again to those lower volume stats for him. In the first half of games versus top 25 defenses, however, Michigan was asking McCarthy to throw at higher percentages than any other quarterback in this draft class that were playing top 25 defenses. So that's where the volume thing kind of comes into play, is that while he didn't have prolific stats or anything, when they were playing against these really good defenses, top 25 in the nation defenses, he threw more against them than any of the other quarterbacks in this class. And while he was throwing in those scenarios, if you remove screen passes, he threw 49.7% of plays in the first half versus top 25 defenses. For the next closest person to have throws like that was Caleb Williams, 35.4% of plays he was expected to throw, and none of the other players that are being considered in the top end of this draft threw for more than 25% against top 25 ranked defenses in the first half. And that's when Michigan would start to pull away. They would get those large ass leads, and then he wouldn't be utilized to pass anymore. He wouldn't be even out there on fourth quarters a lot of times. That's Michigan's style of offense. They ran the ball a lot. They were able to get ahead. They were playing poor defenses or teams that they would get ahead on, and then they would go into a lockdown mode where they're going to slow the game down on our side, burn the clock off, run the ball, and he wasn't asked to be utilized a lot. I think a lot of what McCarthy does statistically bears out if we look at the minutia of it. It's just, is this going to translate to the NFL as much? I think it can. I think it will. Is he a better passer than what we saw in college football? I think he can be, because the times that he was asked to do it, he did it very well. He just wasn't asked to do it very much because he was surrounded by a good team, unless they were playing really good defenses. And again, he went out there, he did it in the first half of games, and then wasn't asked to do it anymore because they got so far ahead. The other things I like about him is that he is a good runner. He is good at scrambling. And does he play hero ball sometimes? I think he can. But when he's moving out of the pocket and scrambling, he's still looking down the field for that throw first. He'll take off and scramble, but he's looking downfield for that throw. We've seen some of those highlight reels from him this last year, which are pretty insane, where he's feeding the ball between 3 defenders in just crazy windows. And the amount of times that he's doing that versus the amount of times that balls are being batted away or picked are like way higher that he's completing this successfully. Is that going to translate to the NFL? I don't know, but that's I like the upside.
Smaller in the NFL.
Some of those, I don't know how they can get smaller. on some of those throws.
Yeah, the throw you're talking about is the one where he ripped between 3 dudes against Ohio State, and his receiver somehow.
It looked like the ball, like if you're watching not slow down, it looks like the ball passed through the defender.
Yeah, I know. It was insane. Pissed me off. So I have a lot of similar things, but we have some disparities here on all my takes on Mr. JJ McCarthy. So he's a great pro style quarterback, plays well within the structure of an offense, does a good job of winning from the pocket. But there are some things that I wish he would do better. He's really slow getting through his reads. Really, really slow. He wasn't asked to do a lot, right? So he didn't have to do a lot. You're going to need a simplified playbook for this kid when he comes out to start with, because he wasn't asked to do a ton of different things schematically, especially if he goes to the Vikings. You guys are going to have to pull back the reins on some of the shit you're doing, because JJ's not going to be up to speed on that. He's not going to be able to flip hips as quick as a Kirk Cousins, because he just gets through his reads slower.
If he were to play day one, but my hope would be for anywhere
you got to sit JJ for a while.
Yeah, for anywhere JJ goes, a minimum 8 games to a year, I would hope is what he's going to be allowed. And that's one of the things that's nice with him, is that he is really young and you can do that.
Right. But so that's one of my bigger knocks on him, is he's just really slow through his progression. But he has that extra ability. He can escape the pocket. He can run. And then this is where we have the biggest disparity. You love the way he throws the ball on the run. He has his completion percentage does not drop. His ball placement, though, is always, it seems like I've never seen him throw one out in front on a lead when he's breaking down out of structure. The ball is typically always behind, and he will put his receivers in really, really bad spots. Like, you see ripping it through 3 guys. I see a dude who's fucking leaving the stadium in an ambulance. That's the way the receivers may see it as well. I understand, like, you want to rip that in there. If you can get it and you get the catch, great. But when you're throwing balls behind and you're throwing it through some super tight windows, it makes me super fucking nervous. And it makes me nervous for his receivers throwing him into bad spots. However, the NFL is kind of getting soft again, so it may not be that big of a problem. I don't know if the defenses know it's getting softer, because they may take somebody's head off. But those are my things on JJ. Like, he needs to read quicker. He's going to have a simplified playbook to start his career. And the ball placement when he's out of the pocket and on the run, I don't love.
Yeah, and that's I have a little bit more of a lenience or leeway to the ball placement aspect, because I don't disagree on the ball placement. It absolutely can be better on those scrambling plays or off schedule plays. It's just when you are on the move, kind of like he was, you don't have the same mechanical base and things like that in order to throw like you would from the pocket and actually have placement, not just accuracy. And that's why, like, I understand that's you want better from that, and I think he can still grow from that because he is so young. He's got way more coaching ahead of him. For me, it is in general the accuracy is that he's able to get the ball there. If his receivers are able to make that catch, he's getting it to a point where they should be able to make a catch. And so I don't disagree with you on that one. The ball placement on those scrambling plays absolutely should be better. But for me, like, again, it's the age thing and all those other upsides and analytics that I feel like he could turn out extremely well in this draft class if he is given the opportunity to go to a good system and to sit and learn that NFL style ball. I don't, before I thought that Jim Harbaugh was boosting up his boy, or is it Jim or John? I'm going to get them fucking mixed up.
I don't remember the one that coaches on the left coast.
Yeah. But he was saying, he's the best quarterback in this draft class. And I thought, hey, he's boosting up Michigan and things like that and saying, yeah, of course I've got the best quarterback in this class. I believe him more now than I did when I first heard that statement and thought it was just a joke, because I've absolutely grown on it as we've broken down into a lot of these stats and stuff like that. And I want to quickly say as well, I'm getting a lot of this information from elsewhere when it comes to the actual statistical breakdown. Thor Nystrom has been one of the biggest proponents of J.J. McCarthy out there. I believe I don't remember who he works for, but I love Thor Nystrom's takes on this stuff. And he's been one of the, if not the biggest J.J. McCarthy proponent out there in Twitter sphere and NFL analyst realm. And I think that he was one of the people that really started to turn the tides on the J.J. McCarthy talk. Is he worth a top 10 pick? The amount of development that you need in him that sit for a year or two would lead you to say no. I think that he is a first round pick, and I think he will absolutely go top 10 because of the positional need for a quarterback. Is he worthy of it? At the end of the day, I'm going to say yes, because who cares where they get picked? If you pick him, in the top 5 and he turns out to be fantastic, absolutely worth it. And you got to take those shots in order to get this guy. Do you have any sort of a pro comp that you have for McCarthy?
I do, but it's not as good. I don't know that he's as good as this guy ended his career before it was derailed by injury. It's Alex Smith.
Okay.
Alex Smith was really good operating from the pocket, could escape up through the middle and then get outside. But Alex Smith, it took him a really long time to put it all fucking together. I think we're going to see the same thing from JJ. And towards the end of Alex Smith's career, he was really, really good, like crazy fucking good, very efficient. And like I think that if JJ hits his ceiling, we're going to see a very efficient guy who may be in a prolific offense because of the offensive scheme.
Yeah. And so I've seen that comp a decent amount, and I do like it. I just think that he's more athletic than Alex Smith is and able to manipulate the pocket a little bit better. What I've got for him is a higher upside and a more athletic version of Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy works within his structure of his system. He's able to make all those different throws, and he's a proven winner. Like Brock Purdy was not expected to be that good, but like he was a winner in college. He's a winner in the NFL. He makes things happen, and he helps his other teammates get the ball and show off what they can do. I think that the floor there for McCarthy is that he can be the guy who is going to deliver the ball. It might not be perfect, but he's going to get the ball to these playmakers. And so for a team like my Vikings, where you have a Justin Jefferson, a Jordan Addison, a TJ Hawkinson, you've got these great playmakers, just get the ball in their hands and they're going to make it fucking happen. And so that's why I think the kind of floor is for McCarthy, is that kind of higher upside, but a more athletic version of Brock Purdy with, in my opinion, a better arm that comes with some of that athleticism. But because we haven't been able to see it in volume yet, that's I'm just saying higher upside, more athletic Brock Purdy.
All right. Move on to the guy we both had it for, Drake May.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I'll go ahead and kick this one off. So for me, man, Drake May is a really, really good athlete, but he needs some serious improvement with his accuracy. He's going to give people Josh Allen vibes, like when he was coming out of Wyoming. Can't fucking hit the broadside of a barn, but super athletic, kind of a bigger guy. But he's not near as good of an athlete as Josh Allen was coming out. Like his ability to extend plays is really good. He can play from the pocket okay, but like he's not comfortable standing tall in the pocket. He wants to escape. And I don't understand why some of the time. Like big, strong arm, makes questionable decisions. He reminds me, and I'm going to give my pro comp immediately because it's part of my write-up, but he's Matt Ryan. He's Matt Ryan coming out of Boston College. Strong arm, makes bonehead decisions, can escape out, but he escapes out the wrong way. He tries to escape out the back rather than climbing and escaping. So, like, could be really good if he gets into the right situation with a team where they're going to let him make mistakes. Because that's exactly what Matt Ryan did. Matt Ryan came out, made a fuckload of mistakes, but more good plays than bad as a rookie, and then progressed from there. Will he go to a place that will allow that to happen? Because he's going to make a shitload of mistakes early on in his career. Because he's going to be a gunslinger. He's going to force the ball in there.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
All righty. Drake May is the scariest quarterback to me in this class. Like, I don't know that there's going to be an in between with him. Like, either he's going to be Mitch Trubisky, or he could have an ascent where he is looked at in a lot of the comps that you'll see online of a Josh Allen, of a Justin Herbert, that sort of a situation. There's a lot of different things about him that you can comp out. Like you said, Josh Allen at Wyoming, there's a lot of similarities, not necessarily in their running style, because Josh Allen is a much better runner and a much stronger runner. Drake May can run, but I don't think that he is a great runner or anything like that. I think a lot of that was from the system. But the accuracy stuff, you saw at his
pro day
where it's a scripted pro day with your guys.
Yeah.
And he would go out and he would miss them pretty fucking bad on a bunch of these throws. And they would redo the snap, redo the rep, and he would be on them like a dime. But why?
Rip it right in there.
Why the fuck is there an accuracy issue at this point?
Because his eyes match his feet too, which is weird. It looks like it all lines up.
So eyes match feet, but he does have a poor throwing motion. I'll say he has a poor throwing motion that is not repeatable. He changes it up depending on the levels of pressure. But then we're seeing when he's not under pressure in these sorts of pro day situations, it still happens. And it's creating some of these errant throws. Those things were able to be worked out with Josh Allen. And with Josh Allen, he got thrown into the fire relatively early in his career, and we saw how bad things were. But then he had really good coaching from guys like Brian Daboll, and he was able to turn into what we see now out of Josh Allen, who is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. So that's where that comparison comes into play for me, is that he could, as far as his accuracy and things like that, have a Josh Allen ascent if he's put in the right situation with the right coaching. Yep. That being said, that situation has happened to 100 other quarterbacks where they even go to good coaching and they just never fucking figure out what that accuracy thing is. Because if you can't throw those shallow hitches and things like that, wide open guys, and you overthrow them, like, the NFL is going to eat him alive. He's the type of guy where he makes hard plays look easy and easy plays look ridiculously hard. Like a pitch and catch.
That's the same thing I have on Caleb Williams. Is the hard things look easy and the easy things are fucking hard for some reason.
But the difference is that it's Caleb Williams is making it that way. Drake May is making easy plays look like he doesn't play football.
Correct. Okay. Yes, I agree.
Because of the accuracy problems. The accuracy problems scared the living fuck out of me. Now, when we're talking about his arm, great velocity, fantastic arm talent in general. He's got the prototypical size that you're looking for. Decent athleticism, like I said. I think he's good at athlete, but he's not a great runner necessarily. And then that throwing motion scares the shit out of me. The ball placement for him, more often than not, I feel is more poor than it should be. And a lot of it will be on plays that
he sails that high all the time. I don't know why. And if you overthrow in the NFL, you're getting fucking picked.
And on a crossing routes in particular, I was noticing that he was throwing the ball behind the receiver a lot. And that's a concern to me too. Like, crossing route is a bread and butter play for a lot of NFL offenses over the middle, and you need to be able to lead the receiver on that one. He has a decent amount of poor decisions. Like, the turnovers that he has are usually his poor decision making, not a defender making a play on the ball. And so that's worrisome for me. The comparison that I had brought up before when we did our mock draft was Carson Wentz, both good and bad. All right. Carson Wentz, before the injuries, would have weird bonehead plays, weird decisions, wonky throws, but at points in time, he was being looked at as an MVP despite those things. And then he got hurt and was never the same. I'm talking about pre-injury Carson Wentz. There can be a lot of really good with him, and then a lot of what the fuck bonehead plays. And those are going to be blown up in the NFL compared to college. And that's, I feel like the floor for him is a Mitch Trubisky, where Mitch Trubisky, prototypical size, really good strength, can't throw to the left for some reason. Like, and we're seeing weird stuff with Drake May that just scares the shit out of me, where it's like you can't throw the easy pitch and catch. You can throw an insane deep ball, you can throw some tight window throws, like NFL Sunday level throws, and then you have so many of these what the fuck moments on easy pitch and catches and things like that. Wide open guys for touchdowns, and you're missing them. So he, more than any of the guys that we've talked about so far, he's the guy that needs to go to a good system with a good quarterback coach and sit. Like, I'm scared to play him year one. Like, I don't want him going, because you could have a situation where you get a Josh Allen out there and he makes those mistakes, or like you said, a Matt Ryan, and he goes out there and he makes those mistakes and learns from them and develops. Or you can have a guy go out there and ruin himself and never recover from it. And that's my fear with him, is that that could happen if you put him out there in a situation. He just gets eaten alive.
Okay.
All righty. Number 5. Who'd you have for number 5?
Penix.
Big Penix energy. Me as well.
Yes.
All right.
Go ahead and take us away here with Michael Penix.
All right, Michael Penix. I do like him. He might have the best arm in the draft. Like, it looks like flick of the wrist and the ball is like a cannon. We showed the play from that Texas game. Like, he has a fucking really fun NFL arm. He's got that prototypical size also that you're looking for. He avoids sacks really well with pre-snap adjustments and is able to kind of float in that pocket a little bit. And that ball placement in a clean pocket can be really good. Despite that offense not throwing over the middle as much, I think that he probably still has that in him. He just wasn't asked to do it quite as much. The age is going to be a concern with him for me. He's pretty damn old for a guy. You want a
25 or 24?
He's going to be 25 if he isn't already. But I know this NFL season he's going to be 25. When a guy's that age, you want him to already be ingrained as your starter. When it comes time, because he's probably Penix out of this group is probably the next closest guy to be taken as a first-round pick. When it comes time for his next contract, he's going to be like right around 30 years old. Like, you want a guy to be going on to their third contract around that time.
For a quarterback, they're not. For a quarterback, that's not. So,
yeah, it's just, we're talking about Kirk Cousins going on to like his 5th, 6th contract at 36. And this guy is going to be going on to his 2nd contract at 30. And then you couple that in with, he's not without issue. He has stuff that needs to be refined. He needs coaching to become an NFL quarterback. You're having to do that. Plus, he's got the age. So you're looking at not a decently polished product until maybe he's 26 or 27. You're getting in the Brandon Whedon territory here of age. And
it's not good either, I promise.
Then you have the knees and the injuries. Apparently the medicals have checked out. He obviously ran a really fucking good 40 time. I saw a lot more scrambling from him than I remember when I watched that 1.5, 2 hour long tape of him. I saw a lot more scrambling from him, which is good and bad because you obviously want to keep him safe. And I know that Washington really did what they could to make sure that he didn't scramble or run as much because they wanted to keep him healthy. But that mobility is also a detriment because you would see his accuracy when we saw this in the national championship game. Every inch that he moved off of his spot in a drop back, it felt like the accuracy degraded with that. He would do a lot of throws off the back foot and things along those lines, which you're lofting the ball up a little bit more, losing some accuracy. But that accuracy, when he gets moved off the spot, starts to degrade severely. In the NFL, you are going to get pressured. Like, he had one of the best, if not the best, offensive line in college football last year with Washington, and he still got pressured. It's going to be worse in the NFL. So he's got to be able to find a way to manipulate that pressure a little bit better, move inside the pocket a little bit better, and not have that steep of an accuracy degradation. Do I think he's a first-round guy? I do. I think that the national championship game really hurt him from a public perspective, but an NFL perspective, what they saw from him this year, what he was able to do, the type of arm talent that he has, that is going to intrigue a lot of coaches in the NFL and a lot of teams. Every team kind of wants a guy that can be more mobile and be more scramble, and that's what drops him out of the conversation with the other top 3, I think, more than anything, is that he is going to be more of your prototypical passer in the NFL. But I think that teams are still going to really like that, and he could be very solid for a team. My pro comp, a lefty version of Phillip Rivers.
Ooh, lefty Phillip Rivers. I have a lefty. Well, I'm going to say the lefty version of somebody, but that's not Phillip Rivers. Okay.
All right. I also kind of like Randall Cunningham with this as well, if we're going
Hmm.
further back in time. Randall Cunningham had a cannon, was decent at moving around in the pocket to avoid the pressure, but it happened more later on in his career that he was able to do that.
Okay. All right. So my thing on Penix, like you love him, but he's also terrifying because of the injury history and the fact he's going to be 24, maybe 25 by the end of his rookie year. So that's super scary because another injury, knee injury, this guy's probably done. But one thing that Washington did a good job of, and something that he has done a great job of, is winning from the pocket, being able to manipulate the pocket. And you very rarely see him try to get outside of it until later in the year it was. And he was doing a great job and was, winning from the pocket. Showed he is a capable runner though. Like he ran a great time at his pro day. Gets rid of the ball very quick. Does not take a lot of sacks, which is fantastic. But
Yeah, I
that
want to say
rush
that
process,
he had like 38 sacks in 1,700 pass attempts or something like that in college.
crazy low. It's insane. He doesn't take sacks.
And that's
But
not just an offensive line stat. That credit has to be given to him
quarterback,
because quarterback is able to avoid not holding the ball too long, things like that. So I just want to put that out. Like he is good at avoiding that sack within the pocket.
yeah, he's
Just
great at that.
accuracy.
But when he rushes through that process to avoid the sack, you get your errant throws. Like everything, things will come up short on the deep ball. Accuracy goes awry. He is not good against pressure, and that's tough. Like gets out of his frame outside of what he wants to try to do when there's pressure, and will force balls. They will sail. They will get picked off. So like for me, my pro comp guy that just came to Cleveland, he's left-handed Jameis Winston. He has a ton of arm talent, pretty good manipulating the pocket, but every once in a while he's going to do something crazy. He's going to come up short because he's trying to rush the process. Yeah, I got left-handed Jameis Winston for my pro comp.
I just hope that he wouldn't end up having Jameis Winston volume on interceptions.
That we would hope not. But if the teams find out that you just got to pressure this guy, you could absolutely see that. Like, because his numbers against the blitz were fucking terrible. Like 38% completion percentages and shit like that. It's tough. So
yeah. And those are things I think that you can still coach and work on and stuff like that. The problem again is now you're doing this with a 25-year-old.
He's 25. Yeah.
So how much time can you really afford to invest in a guy like that who's if you find a franchise quarterback, your hope is 10 years. If you get more than 10 years out of him at franchise quarterback star level, like you are hitting the jackpot. 10 years for this guy, and he's going to be in the twilight of his career potentially type thing. So that's the scary thing is like, the age definitely is a bit of a concern. With a quarterback, I think it is okay for them to be older, but they've got to be more polished coming out. So I still think that he is a first round worthy pick. And I think that scouts
listen, he's gonna go up there. He should go up there because when Jameis was on, when fucking Phillip Rivers was on, dude, they'd light it up. They'd light the fucking board on fire. But they'd also, on those bad days, would rip balls into coverage of 8 fucking people because they're like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Or a blitz would come and they would just freak out. Phillip Rivers was also notoriously bad against the fucking blitz. Like, would just cower and hide and scream at his offensive lineman against the blitz.
Yeah. And that's I was looking for guys that were strong arm, non-runner quarterbacks that can do some insane prolific passing stuff, but also are just got blitz problems. So anyways, so next guy that I had up here was Bo Nix. Where did you have him?
Same, Bo Nix in the same spot.
All right. So Bo Nix is going to be an interesting one. So I think the easy pro comp for me is Dollar General Drew Brees. And a lot of people like to say that's why he should go to Denver. I've been very up and down on Bo Nix, but I don't think that he's a first-round quarterback. I struggle to see him as a second-round quarterback, but I don't see him going outside of the second round. Um, I brought it up with JJ McCarthy, empty calorie stats. Bo Nix is nothing but empty calorie stats.
Half of his throws were behind the fucking line of scrimmage.
Yeah. So Oregon's system was insane for him. Like it was as perfect as you can get of a system for Bo Nix to run because it was one read, throw the ball. That guy is going to be open based on this system more often than not. And then you're going to have receivers that can go out there and get yards after catch. And it's going to inflate the stats a little bit. But if you look at average depth of target, it was like one of the worst, if not the worst in this class. But that's going to give you very high completion percentages because of the talent that was there. He's getting high overall statistics with touchdowns versus interceptions and yards total. Like you are getting a lot of empty calorie stats. He's not having to fight to get any of those statistics. They're being kind of given to him. That being said, he is older. He's another one of those guys that's pretty old, but I feel like you can take him and plug him into a simplistic, very structured NFL offense, like what Sean Payton did with Drew Brees for a lot of times. You can put him in there and he can start day one. Your ceiling is going to be capped. It's going to be capped based on the players that you put around him. But he's never going to be the guy that is going to elevate your team or anything like that. Like, I think we're a team like a Denver Broncos that needs a starter. They need someone to go out there and play other than Jarrett Stidham. He's the type of guy that's going to work. But you are going to be handicapping yourself and what the true full-on potential is because Bo Nix has a okay arm. He wasn't asked to use it, and unlike a JJ McCarthy who wasn't asked to use it as much, like I mean, not asked to use it as much on like downfield throws and throws that matter. It was Oregon's offense was asking him to use it a lot, but on plays that essentially were equatable to like run plays because of screens and behind the line of scrimmage stuff and things like that. So, like I said, I've liked Bo Nix because hey, this guy can go in and he can run an NFL offense, I think, and he can be decent at it. But also like I'll say this about him: his pre-snap read, phenomenal. Maybe one of the better in the class at pre-snap reads and adjustments. Post-snap, out the fucking window. Because he only would ever have to do one read and throw.
One read, yep.
And if that thing wasn't open, then you start to saw a little bit of I got the anxiety feeling in my chest when his first read wasn't open. And that had to have been what he was feeling because it was like, oh shit, I don't know the script anymore. Like, what am I supposed to do? A lot of the stuff that we saw with him at Auburn 15 years ago, it feels like, it's the same stuff that he has. It's just the system that he was in covered all of it up. So that's where I'm at with Bo Nix. He will probably be taken in the second round, or if a situation happens like we had in our first mock draft, I suppose he could be taken late in the first round. But I think that he is going to be one of those guys that will get thrust into NFL action really quick if he goes to a place like a Sean Payton-led Broncos. And you are going to not see super lively results or anything like that, but it will just be kind of average. Like he's going to be a milquetoast quarterback.
Yeah. I have a very similar write-up here, man. Super smart, but he should be because he played 61 fucking games in college. The most ever. Like, it's so fucking many. You were the joke 15 years ago, he was playing at Auburn, and that's how it feels. And I agree that some of the things that were happening at Auburn are still going on, but they were covered up. People who, if you think that he's an accurate thrower, I don't know what you're looking at because the average depth of target was fucking 5-7 yards, maybe. Think a lot of these are behind the line. It's easy to be fucking accurate when he's right there.
That's we need to define the difference. There's completion percentage, which his completion percentage is insane. Then there's accuracy, and that's ball placement and things like that. And that what comes into play with the accuracy is not it, like depth of target matters with that. But as the depth of target increases, we hope to see that accuracy. It'll decrease as well, but not as much.
Yeah, not as drastic. When he's throwing the ball down the field, he is not an accurate thrower of the football.
Yes, even though the completion percentage is still good there, it's not accurate. And the behind the line stuff, I wouldn't even say the accuracy is really good there. The margin of error is like insane when you're
Yeah.
throwing those short passes. You can have a relatively inaccurate throw and it's still going to be okay just because of the distance between you and the receiver.
Well,
But
when
it's still not great.
the scheme out there in Oregon, you can miss and dudes will still catch it because dudes are fucking wide open.
Yeah.
The scheme is fantastic. Like whatever Oregon is running, everybody should be running it in college. It's great. It makes your quarterback look great too. But it's not going to be equatable when you get to the NFL level. He's not an accurate thrower down the field. And on top of that, when you pressure him, he fucking crumbles because one read, if it's not there and there's pressure, if there's anything, he cannot make the adjustment. Dude, he is going to be seeing ghosts in the NFL when you pressure him. But when it's all clean, he can operate your offense. He can be your milquetoast quarterback. He can be your vanilla run of the mill fucking game manager that just okay, I need go get me 4 yards. Gotcha, coach. That's who Bo Nix is.
Like I said, like your Dollar General version of Drew Brees, and I honestly don't even really like that comparison. I put it more towards like your later in his career to where he's at now, Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, and I'm not even super comfortable with
God.
that. Like, it's he's a guy that I don't think has long-term starter potential.
I think Jimmy G is a closer comp, but still, I'm like, honestly, the guy that hasn't really started a lot, but has maybe shown flashes at times, a Drew Lock. I could see Bo Nix and Drew Lock being the same guy.
I
If
like
Drew
Drew Lock's
Lock,
arm talent better.
yeah, his arm talent's way better. Like,
yeah. And I'm not a Drew Lock fan, but like he's got better arm talent.
as I'm talking more and more about Bo Nix, I'm thinking about sliding him down this list. But at the same time, the list from here starts to get very dicey. I got Hartman and Rattler. Like after Penix, it's a crapshoot.
You know, we talk about bridge quarterbacks. Like, I think you're drafting him to be your bridge quarterback instead of picking one up in free agency with Bo Nix. That's what it feels like to me. Like you can get a guy who's going to be out there competent enough to run the offense, but there's no high end plays. The low end plays are probably not going to be as bad. But like you're not expecting this guy to be your franchise dude for the next 20 years. So for Sean Payton, I feel like, hey, this is it would be a perfect fit. A guy who can go out there, run my offense. I'm not having to deal with a child because he's older than sin. He's married and has 12 kids already. I can just tell him, run my offense, put it out there. I'll develop the rest of the team around him. And then in 3 or 4 years, when we have a better quarterback class, I can look at drafting and developing my true quarterback. Like, I feel like that's the kind of situation that you're in with Bo Nix. But all right. So not hammering him anymore. Who do you have there after Bo Nix again?
I got Sam Hartman.
All right.
Which I know you don't like this guy at all.
He's not on my list. It's not, I don't dislike Sam Hartman. I don't like him as an NFL quarterback. I think that he's damn near not worth a draft pick. I don't want to say undraftable, like he's that bad. Like I just want to say he's not worth the draft pick when you look at the age and things like that. Like he's got moxie. He's got that Gardner Minshew moxie and the Gardner Minshew flow.
Dude, we are fucking okay. So the guys I got in here, his normal, like if he's doing just a standard ass career, he could maybe play a Gardner Minshew type role, bounce around a little bit, pick up a spot, start here, maybe get a year as a starter, spend some time as a backup. Like that's where I kind of see Sam Hartman. But his ceiling, if he fucking puts it all together, is a guy that was called undraftable in Baker Mayfield. That is his ceiling, is Baker Mayfield.
Oh man, that's a leap.
Dude, he has a fucking big fucking arm, great deep ball. Baker's got those same things. The fucking deep ends, those digs, fucking threads it right between guys, but has absolutely no touch and cannot feather a ball at all. If you need to make a throw over the linebackers and in front of the safeties, he's throwing a dart right into the linebacker's fucking chest. That's where the ball's going right now. He just doesn't have the ability to make every throw that you want. Do I think that he can't get that? No, with some good coaching, I think he could maybe learn how to add some touch to the ball, but like he just doesn't do it right now. But God, he's got a good arm. He rips it. He fucking can lay it over the top of you. And, pressure. There's another guy that does not do well with pressure because as soon as he gets pressured, his feet are over there and his eyes are over here, and he's trying to find an escape route. So it's all got to be clean, and it's very similar to Baker. Baker's the guy that if it's not clean, his eyes and his feet are in two opposite fucking directions, and he's throwing a bullet right to the linebacker. Like Sam Hartman is fucking Baker Mayfield, like the bad Baker. Like when Baker's being bad, that's where Sam's at. He could be good Baker. That's where I got him.
So I feel like he's like a Stetson Bennett type of situation where it's the old dude that can go in and he can learn and be another dude in the locker room. And at the same time, he's got the Gardner Minshew flow. He's going to be there for the bitches, and the women are going to love him. It's going to be the sex appeal for the team, but the guy that you don't necessarily want to see out there on the field. And so I think like his ceiling to me is a Nick Mullins, where it's like you can have a lot of throws out there. You can have big arm throws and stuff like that. You're going to have a lot of big time issues and bad decisions as well with it. Because he's not the guy that you want out there as a full-time starter. Like if he's a backup for you and you have to put him in, like we're handing the ball off a decent amount. Because I think he can run an offense for sure.
Nick Mullins looks like crying Josh Hartnett. You're welcome.
I could see that. Yeah. Look, Nick Mullins did not get blessed with the looks. So
it looks like crying Josh Hartnett. That's exactly what Nick Mullins looks like.
He's an ugly dude. Josh Hartnett from Minnesota. All right. So yeah, I don't have Hartman in my list. I think that he's probably not even in my top 10 if I were to go down that route. Let me double check here.
Do you guys have not him?
I'm just looking. Yeah, I think I've got him closer to like 13, 14, like UDFA range type stuff for me. Because like you said, after we get past the Bo Nix, you've got, for me, two more guys on my list and two more guys that are draftable. And then after that, you have guys that will be taken in like Jordan Travis and an Austin Reed. And then Tua's younger brother, maybe Carter Bradley. Like Carter Bradley is where I think it's fringe whether or not he is taken. The name I didn't mention there, Joe Milton. Like I don't know what the fuck is going to happen with him because the guy's got an insane arm but zero accuracy whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that
fucking fantastic athlete too, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he is 6'5", 235, really good athlete. Yeah. So I feel like his best bet in the NFL is becoming like what's his nuts down there for the Saints, the gimmick quarterback.
Taysom Hill?
Yeah. Like that's probably his best bet. But no, for me, my number 7 guy on my list is a Spencer Rattler. So Spencer Rattler had that kind of rougher early start to his career. Ended up transferring away from Oklahoma because his job was taken from Caleb Williams. And Rattler went to the Gamecocks, and the Gamecocks were just a terrible team. I like the only receiver around there that was a good option for him is one of my draft guys, Javier Legette, who I really like. The thing with Spencer Rattler is like he's looked like he's going to be another one of those guys that can come in and run an NFL offense. You just are going to start to have higher variance. His accuracy isn't great, but he can throw the ball all right. He doesn't have a big arm necessarily, but he's got an okay arm. He, to me, like is a prototypical backup quarterback in the NFL where it's like you don't have anything really good. You don't have anything that is super bad. He has worked through a lot of those weird issues, that he had early in his career. You don't have great size, but you don't have terrible size. He's 24 years old. This is a guy you can take in the 3rd and 4th round and feel confident about him being like a good backup quarterback for you, that if you have to play in a couple games, you're not going to feel terrible about it. But I think that at age 24, he is kind of taking that correct career arc for a development of a player where you go into college, bigger expectations, it's a kick in the nuts, and then you've kind of had slow, steady progression until you get to around age 23, 24, 25 for quarterbacks, which are supposed to start to be peaking. At 24, I feel like we are getting closer to his peak. And then he can get a little bit better with some NFL coaching. but that he's never going to be like starter quality, in my opinion. Like he's not a great scrambler or anything like that. Like he doesn't do any one thing super, super well. You know, he doesn't process or progress through his reads as well as you would like to see, but also like at
Who did he have to go
Carolina,
to?
yeah, that's the thing is like his read seemed to be I'm going to progress from whatever I'm supposed to do to Xavier Legette and throw it up there and let this dude get it. And a lot of times Xavier Legette did. That was the receiver making the quarterback look better. That being said, like doesn't have great drive velocity on his throws and stuff like that, but he has enough to get it where it needs to. I don't think he's going to be able to attack the entire field, especially deeper throws because of that arm. Um, but he's
For me, it's
okay in the
the in
pocket.
breaking routes that terrify me.
Yeah. Um, I I think I backup quarterback is like a great spot for him.
Yeah.
And so I was way off on him, but he's definitely done good for him this offseason. Obviously, the MVP of the Senior Bowl. He had a good combine workout. Um, I do see development from in a better situation in college. He probably could have ascended up and been higher up this board. But from what we've been able to see, like I'm not drafting him higher than the third round. And third round is a little rich for me because I'm drafting him to be my backup.
Yeah. Third round. I'd have him in the fourth. That's also where I have Hartman as well. I know you hate that, but Spencer Rattler is my eighth guy. And I agree with a lot. Dude, I thought this kid was going to be the number one quarterback when he first burst onto the scene. I was like, this dude's fucking awesome. And then Oklahoma happened and Caleb Williams and all that. It feels like it almost destroyed his confidence with what happened. So we see the spiral. He goes to South Carolina, and you're right. They were fucking not great at football. And he didn't make matters necessarily that much better because while he can be accurate, every time you move him off his spot, he is more and more inaccurate. The farther he moves off that spot, the more inaccurate he gets. I mean, good pre-snap, but does not work quick through his reads. But the read was, like you said, and I agree, it's whatever the read was supposed to be, and then wherever the fuck Xavier Legette is at. And the in-breaking routes scare the hell out of me, man. Everything he throws in breaking is behind. It's always on the hip when it's got to be out in front. You saw it at the combine, even like at the combine, throwing on air. That ball's got to be out in front. You can't, even if they're not your receivers, that ball cannot be on his back hip. You have got to have that ball out in front. And he doesn't do that. Like that. So that's scary to me. There has been progress. Sure. He's a dude that should come in and sit and sit and sit. And just, you can have an incredibly successful career being a career backup. Obviously, you keep fighting, you keep trying to play, you go to try to be the starter, but there's nothing wrong with being a backup, and that's probably where Spencer's going to stay. This is another guy that I can see as a later round flyer in a fit for a Sean Payton offense. Very vanilla, just going to fucking kind of take care of things. Spencer Rattler can run that offense for, a week or two if need be. So that's I don't know if I have a comp because he's not Drew Brees. Like, I don't know if I got a comp for Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, I don't for Spencer Rattler. I don't have really good comps for my last guy either. Though my last guy is my actual Brock Purdy potential award. It's the guy that I had brought up to you before when we are getting to Senior Bowl and things like that, and the guy I kind of watching, that's Michael Pratt out of Tulane. Good size, good height, weight, 4-year starter, 3-year captain. He is a leader on this team, that type of guy. Proven winner at lower level competition. Has decent touch, but he doesn't have like great NFL arm talent at the end of the day. Good at running an offense, good at selling things, but and a decently mobile quarterback. Like he's not. He to me a lot more is like that Drake May. He's athletic. He can move around the pocket, and get out of the pocket, and he can run the ball. But he's not a guy that you consider a running quarterback. So he's just not a statue. But his timing's off, and his progression through the route tree isn't great. He will have those accuracy dips where he's throwing behind the guy and stuff like that because he doesn't have the super great NFL arm talent. His consistency is just kind of all over the place, but he's the type of guy that you were going to draft in round 4 or 5 or 6 to be your backup quarterback, but with good NFL coaching instead of just like Tulane coaching that lower level stuff, you might be able to get more out of him. And I don't think that he'll be Brock Purdy. But if there's a guy in this class who I think could have who the fuck is this guy now starting for this professional team and he's doing really good? That's a Michael Pratt. The same way that Brock Purdy kind of came out of nowhere. I feel like that could be the Michael Pratt out of this. Of this guy gets thrust into action before he's ready, before he should, and all of a sudden it's like, well, actually, damn, he's doing all right running this offense. So I like Michael Pratt. I like him better than a Spencer Rattler and stuff like that. But honestly, just like based on the pure talent, I've got him a little bit lower. That's why he's my 8th guy.
Okay, all right.
All right. Did you have anyone else?
No, man. Spencer Rattler was my last dude. That's my 8.
All righty. Well, look, this is a good quarterback draft. Yes, does it tail off pretty damn quick?
Yeah. After Penix at 5, there's a drastic dip. You got probably 3 to 6 guys in there that you could think about taking. Rounds 3 through 6 and 7. I don't know if we get that historic, like crazy, they're going to be 15 quarterbacks drafted in this class because they tail off a lot.
It's just that top end that when people say this is prolific, like the top end of this class is instead of like, hey, we got 1 or 2 guys that are really worthy of talking about, and maybe a third kind of fits in. Like we have a legit 4 to 5 guys who I think our first round talent will be starters in this league and could be long-term good starters in this league. We've never had an NFL draft where 4 quarterbacks have been taken with the first 4 picks, and we're looking that in the face as a strong possibility right now. At least 4 in the top 5, probably. And so it looks very promising. But every year we have draft classes that look promising, and 50% or less of those guys hit. And that's the reality of this position. Is like I feel really confident about this quarterback draft class in those first 4 picks. And it's almost guaranteed that 50% of them are going to fail.
Yep.
So that's my question to you. Out of the top 4 guys, which 2 of them do you think have the best chance to fail?
The best chance to fail? Drake May and Caleb Williams.
Same.
Yeah. Like those guys are I'm not even sure it's situation dependent for Caleb Williams. I think it is a little bit more with Drake May. Caleb Williams, his boom bust is going to come from all the things that are extraneous of football.
Exactly. I think that now 2 different types of off the field failures, but I could see like his failure comparison being close to Johnny Manziel.
I hope not.
Guy has crazy arm talent, like wild fucking like makes hero plays. But then the off the field stuff makes him less focused on football. Now, Johnny Manziel's was substance and things like that and that sort of shit. I don't know that that'll be the case with Caleb, and I'm not trying to say that he's going to go off and become, a boozer.
He's not going to go gallivant in fucking Vegas when he's supposed to be at the team facility. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I feel like, Fashion Week's happening this week. I'm going to go focus on that instead of football. Type thing. Like, I don't know, like different shit. I feel like if Caleb Williams fails, it will be an off the field.
It's fucking Kyler Murray situation. Playing Call of Duty and
Kyler Murray, that for my comp makes a little bit more sense there too. Like that could absolutely happen with him. And then Drake May, I feel like, that's like the scary thing is, this guy's the next Mitch Trubisky. He's taken high, he's got prototypical size, but throws some weird fucking balls and makes some weird fucking plays, and now he can't throw left. And now we've got Trubisky, and that's the fear there as well. And look, the top 2 guys that seem to be targets for my Vikings are Drake May and JJ McCarthy. I feel safer with JJ McCarthy. I like JJ McCarthy better. If the Vikings take Drake May, I'm going to be all in on Drake May. I guarantee you fucking that. All right. But that's the thing is that, like, I feel so comfortable with my head coach and my coaching staff that I think that we could take any of those guys in the top, including the Penix, and we're going to get the absolute best out of them.
Dude,
Like,
I think
that's how
Penix would be a
confident I
really
feel.
intriguing option for you guys. I really do.
It would. And I think that's going to be the closest to Kirk because Kirk is not your hypermobile guy. Doesn't have to be.
Slightly more athletic Kirk Cousins would be a great thing.
It would be. But I think Penix has a bigger arm than Kirk.
Yeah,
for sure. So if we want to get our offense a little bit more vertical, that could absolutely be in the cards. And that's the thing is, I don't think that we're taking Penix unless we do not trade up in the draft.
Yeah, that's the only way you would is if you don't move up, you're going to have to fall back probably to pick the fifth quarterback coming off the board, who will probably
might have to be at pick 11. That's the thing is, like, if we take Penix, we might have to take him at pick 11, and I'm going to feel pretty crappy about that in the moment because I feel like that is an overdraft. He's a 20s level pick in the first round or a late teens, but we're going to have to do that to avoid him going to a Raiders, a Broncos, or something like that, a team picking him and stashing him type situation like the Rams or something. So, yeah. But hey, we'll have a shot at another pick at pick 23, I guess.
That's very true. So speaking of the draft, we're going to be live streaming the draft. We're going to commentate. We're going to watch along here. I haven't asked anybody yet, but maybe we'll try to get some of our other friends from around the podcasting world to come pop in, say what's up, talk about some of the things that they've seen. But the draft simulcast is going to be fun. Probably going to be a lot of drinking or.
Oh yeah. Look, like I said, I'm doing this carnivore thing right now. I haven't drank a whole lot. I plan on having a nice 24 rack of fucking Busch Light right here, some Busch Lattes, and I'm going to see how many I can get through during our draft stream. So you might see old Evo fucked up here because I got no carbs in my system to soak up that beer. So
awesome. I'm not going to drink that many beers. However, I may get fucking higher than draft balls. So
I might need to get a diaper actually, honestly, for it because like once you break the seal, I got a bathroom right here close to me, but like I'm just gonna be back and forth otherwise, or a piss jug. We'll have an off-screen
pull
piss
out
jug.
the deployment fucking piss jug.
Yep. I'm gonna make sure the mic is turned down close to it so all can hear it.
Great. Yeah, there we go.
These are thoughts.
All right, well, let's wrap this fucking thing up since we're talking about piss here at the end of the show. I'm Mike. That is Evo. This is the Lineman Lounge. Guys, we appreciate everybody who tuned in today. There's a lot of people that popped in here, so thank everybody who tuned in. If you want to interact with the show, you go to Facebook. We have a group. TikTok is Lineman Lounge 2.0. Instagram, Lineman Lounge, and Twitter at Lineman Lounge. Also, go check out the No Sleeves Network. We have all of our blog writings. We have links to the shows. We have links to gaming channels. We're trying to grow and build this network. So everybody who tuned in, thank you for your small part in helping with that. But Evo, give the people one last word before we get the fuck out of here. Just go with the classic.
JJ McCarthy to the Vikings.
Okay.
Because I got a big bet on it.
All right, guys. I'm Mike. That's Evo. We're getting the fuck out of here. See you.